great magnet. Peace, great magnet of the heart of God. I this day, in addressing the children of men, would remind them that they are first the children of God, born of his Spirit and his thought. The natural order of things seems to convey to the wise that all things come from matter and from the energy of matter. Out of the great magnificence of mind and the fire of the Spirit comes into manifestation in consciousness the bliss of the holy thought of the immaculate concept, the thought of pristine purity and love, unattached to aught else save its progenitor, Father, Mother, Divine One. As the rising spiral of the Spirit manifests a stairway to the infinite stars before my consciousness, and its dawn roseate with the compassion of God, I am reminded momentarily of almost a need to weep for the great love of the cosmic Father, Mother, Divine One. His love is so tender, so different, so free of expectation of reward, so much the conveyor of grace and holy intent, that it even requires of man illumination in order to know how to approach this love that transcends knowledge. So as I speak to you this day from the gentleness of our retreat of the Blue Lotus, it is mindful of his holy will that like a great radiance swirls around you, light, spinning a garment, a world around the sun of your being. And in this great spinning, this unfoldment, strata upon strata of light substance is born: chalcedony, onyx, diamond, gold, frankincense intertwined within the folds of being, fragrance rising as incense to delight the mind, the freshness of flowers, the dew sparkling in the sun upon the flowers as a diamond. Each scintillating ray brings happiness as your nostrils inhale the delight of immortal fragrance. The odoriferous activities of the world, the putrefaction of the world, the life processes of degeneration, these only contrast the light. In your light body, your ascended body, the glory of God manifests, not corruption, but incorruption, not shadow, but light, not impurity, but the purity of the crystal, the fire from out the heart of God that solidifies in the time-spatial segment in order to convey hope and nearness and wonder, awe, fire, illumination, unity, harmony, myriad manifestations, comfort, and peace, because all is a release of his thought, and his thought emanates and emanates and emanates with ever new exciting wonders to behold. We are not bored in our spiritual enrapport, where our eyes see and witness new splendor born each moment, but we are concerned for the mankind of earth, and we ponder those souls so bereft of the wonders of our love, of God's love, of universal oneness. New peril is born in the world this year as the scientists discover a new method of accelerating the release of energy. And so it may well be possible the planet could be extinguished in a pinch of dust by man. Where then shall ye turn, except to the fastnesses of the spiritual mountains? In the great hymn, chant of the Reformation, a mighty fortress is our God, we hope the infusing power of spirituality will liven the world and rekindle in the desert places the mighty flowering of a new hope. Apathy, selfishness, defeatism, lack of comprehension, and the strands of understanding being entangled with mortal delusion all contribute to the perils of the day. But our hope rests secure and serene in the great pool of divine love and divine grace and consideration. We cannot entertain thoughts of the world being pinched out because man wills it so in the insane manifestations of human greed, evil, tenacity toward unrighteousness, and ungodliness, dictatorial nonsense, and the grip upon the minds of the world by controlled media. We cannot surrender. A mighty fortress is our God. The power of that love that framed you, that dangled you upon the lap of the Almighty, is supreme and is central to the fire of the soul. Fear not those who may kill the body, but those who may kill the soul. Remember then that fear shall not triumph, that darkness shall not reign, that hope shall not wane, that strength shall not fail, that the power of God shall manifest its victory. remember the truth of thy being. Thou camest forth from God, and unto God thou shalt return. Fear not them then who say unto thee, we will rule thee. For he that ruleth thy heart and keepeth thee in his peace is the Lord God of hosts. As you gaze upon mountain heights, remember that height and depth shall not even separate thee from the love of God. For wherever thou art, I am. The temple of the blue lotus is a focus and retreat dedicated to the wonderful swirling will of God that entwines itself around mankind. And it is a blend of the will of God and his mighty love. The tide of that love shall sweep across the world. Today, if you will it so, I will send it forth, saturated with my flame. Today, if you call for it, I will send it forth, a cup of blue flame in God's name. Today, if you would love to see, I will open eyes that men may be natives of a celestial activity. From God you came, unto God you shall return. And these fires are endless ones, ceaseless manifestations of love. As I came to you today, I spoke silently to many hearts. Long before my words were uttered, or the first activity of my concepts arose in your mind, my arms were about you, and they were the arms of one dedicated to God. If you felt my comfort, if you felt my presence, if you felt my pathos of cosmic unity, uniting our souls in one sweet purpose, it was but that which God intended to be. For I am your brother, although I am called a God, he alone is God. For as the years of my being have unfolded in his cycles, as the days have passed, each moment has made me to know that with my aging has come a wonderful new beginning. And in the youth that I am before him is the desire and hope to serve in a more superior manner, that in the recesses of my mind, when silence reigns and is enthroned, I may impart in those silent moments that wisdom within yourself and all that lives beneath the belt of this consciousness, a wonderful comprehension of the true meaning of love, that seeketh not her own, yet that is her own reality. So sweet is the dream of God for all, that it is scarcely noticed as it passes forth its rays in the rays of the sun. The revivifying elements themselves are saturated and penetrated by his love. And it is his love that pushes forth the green shoots. It is his love that extends the natural glows upon the mountains of the splendor of the sun. Light is his to command, and the wind is his to control. Beauty in that which men have called the soil, which ought never to have been, will once again manifest the seven rays. So one day the red earth shall blend to the pure beauty of the pink, and the blue earth shall express the azure hues of the sky. And that which men have called soil will not exist in the electronic age of victory as upon other shining worlds. The jewel-like substance of the sand, the crystal, will draw forth through magnetism the same sacred fires of vitality which are presently manifesting in the moist, damp, darker earth. Then beauty will shine upon this planet. The penetration of the cosmic light will intensify to the core, and the earth shall hum a melody to the sun, and the sun shall undulate its waves to the earth. And in the belt of that regeneration, health shall pour upon all those creatures who have not yet ascended, and they shall bask in a greater radiance of the Father's love than you have seen in this day. And men shall not seek in bottle or prescription to find health, but shall find it in the light of God that never fails, pouring through that substance which came forth from the sun and was spun out of its ray. Then shall the world find greater peace than in this age. Then shall greater wonders in the natural order of things manifest. But men have procrastinated. They have put it aside in the great cosmic law, as the father in the tale of the prodigal son has given substance, time, and energy to man. And they have gone astray. And they have builded towers of error. And they have basked in confusion rather than in peace. The gentleness of the Holy Spirit entreats. It does not force. God does not always delight himself to function with hammer and tongue. But sometimes and oft comes as a still small voice within the heart, stirring there those regenerate and sacred fires that will mold men in purity of heart and concept. But I tell you truly, the world has need of the great builders of the pyramids. It has need of those more vociferous men and women who also manifest another side of the many facets of the Godhead. Despise not then the men of peace who come with exceeding gentleness of heart, and despise not those who come with a voice crackling with the authority of God. Both are opposite ends of the one pole of the author of life, who is not the author of confusion. From this author, the divine one, comes authority, and all must submit who would live, for it is his precepts that encourage the formulation of a civilization of perfection. It is his precepts that men have taken in part, as at a smorgasbord or buffet men have picked and chosen. They have taken those which appeal to them of his laws and have ignored others. And so there are gaps in their knowing and gaps in their manifestation. And they themselves must determine, each one, when the splendor of his shining and appearing will be welcomed with a whole heart, that they no longer defraud themselves of the pittances that, put together one by one, the little strands of his perfection, will complete the garment of his beauty. They prefer often to have strands of misconception because they know not what they do. We come to illumine, we come to teach, we come to bless, we come to convey that which is the glory of God in the highest is not an illicit manifestation, but is the manifestation of perfection. That which is the glory of God in the highest is often the simplicity of the divine plan. We would have no difficulty in bedazzling your minds with formulas, both chemical and electric, far beyond the ken of mortal mind. We know the manifestation of substance to its most minute degree. We know the manifestation of spirit to the point of cycle's return. We know the manifestation of the sacred fire, where it flourishes and where it will burn. We know how to manifest the coolness of God and the heat so fervent that it melts the elements. Yet we are not prideful in ourselves, but our desire is to impart that native grace which makes of man a prince in the house of God, because the garments that he wears are the garments of the Lord, and his authority is that which God hath conveyed. So then, as I take my leave of you, I remind you that in our temple we gather devotees from time to time to spend an hour or more at our feet. There we speak not, but in silent emanations we impart the holiness of his grace. So it has been done. I thank you. Meru from Lake Titicaca. Breathe upon me, O thou Holy One, that I may partake of thyself. Breathe upon me, O God, that I may walk and talk and hold consort with righteousness, truth, and being. Poured out upon numberless ones, the Spirit of the Almighty, as the seed of God is scattered upon the winds, and the whole earth is free from barrenness and the great seed of opportunity springs forth. The opportunity that is blessed by the conjunction of the earth element, the air, the waters, and the fire. Life holds purpose and plan foursquare. Life holds purpose and plan in triangle there, and in the sacred seven symbol one beholds the manifestation of perfection as the three, triune, triumphant, eternal security, balanced geometry, God, economizing upon energy to produce myriad manifestation, diversity from the one. And as we today think upon these things, we are engrossed in the total manifestation of being that rises through flow out of the finite pool of individualized manifestation, until through the power of grace multiplied, peace is spread abroad in the world, and industry holds its rewards as the family of nations, in gathering together implements for peace, manifest the wondrous grace of God for the golden age, when industry is rewarded by the power of light, and all that is spiritual endeavor comes to full fruition, and the desert does indeed blossom as the rose, and the voice of the nightingale is heard in the land, and there is tranquility in heart, as life commands, I am the Lord thy God, who made for thee a paradise of opportunity. And so as I come today, clothed upon with the golden radiance of the sun, I am aware of the need to transmute you, every one, to make you God-like. Intelligence of infinity, manifest in every precious moment God gives to thee, a moment that had no beginning, a moment that has no ending, but a fulfillment of the eternal cycles of beingness. And there came from on high one meek and lowly, riding upon a colt the foal of an ass. King of kings and Lord of lords, there is in this concept, locked deep within the internal understanding behind the semantics and the power of human reason, the wondrous fulfillment of beingness. When the individualized self partakes of the substance of the wind of the Holy Spirit, of the divine economy, of understanding and grace, then all life will fulfill its raison d'etre. God in man, the great creator, sustainer, and preserver, will have fulfilled his destiny, and the spiral will rise. There is no end to the rising of the spirals, for this is the wonders of infinity. Newness of life, creation, God manifesting here, and God manifesting there, myriad sun systems of worlds springing into action, and the giving unto mankind, made in his image, of opportunity to act as regent for the Lord God of hosts. In the idea of a finite life, in the idea of terminus, in the idea of ending, is the very fulfillment of darkness, which has come to naught when individuals, filled with self-pity and steeped in the degradation of self-shames, come to a point where they can no longer face themselves, they sometimes have yielded to the awful activity of the suicide entity. Let this be abolished, as man is made to understand beyond religion, beyond social contact, beyond the fabric of individualized identity, there is the manifestation of God, the eternal substance. And so we deal in this discourse with the substance entitled Eternal Verities of Substance. And the Lord God planted eastward in Eden a garden. Perfection, manifest perfection, purpose and plan, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal in opportunity in the eyes of God. But when this is also equal in opportunity in their own eyes, there is a catalytic action that takes place whereby all of the shoddiness of the soul, that which is not wrought by God but by man in error, must slip away, fall away, and be transmuted. Then does shine forth, as the Father shines forth his face in the great kingdom of the Son, the realization of individual victory. Mankind, know the Lord thy God as thyself. Know this as no desecration. Know this as the understanding of perfection, which was locked in the old days of Inca and of Incal, in the proper understanding guiding the construction of the pyramids. Those who sought to rise step by step toward the apex, toward the summit of self. Blessed ones, know that those high altars were desecrated as mankind turned away from the great eternal precepts, and the shame of blood sacrifice came into manifestation, hatred of man by man, hatred of God by man, and a turning of the back upon reality and the living in the great vacancy of a present moment that must slip the moment it is realized into the sea of eternal beingness. When there is no eternal, immortal concept behind it, the individual then slips into the sea of darkness and nothingness. For unless the Lord charges his radiance into the atom, into the cell, into the second, that second has come to naught. For only that material which is real can become a part of the eternal, all-consecrated temple of God. As St. Paul passed by Mars Hill, he saw there the altar with the inscription written thereon, "To the unknown God." He declared unto them, "Whom ye ignorantly worship. I say unto you that God is scarcely realized by the greatest theologians of the world today, who can at best touch but the hem of the garment of the Lord. And yet God is in eternal readiness as an archer with bent bow and arrow, desiring to speed swiftly to the target, ready at all moments to impart to mankind the great eternal virtue and values, the understanding behind the symbol and the fulfillment behind the intent. Consecrate yourselves then anew in this day and age, and people of the world, people of good faith, people with the power of vision, and all who can summon vision, recognize the summum bonum of immortality, the eternal concept that passes men by as ships pass one another in the night. Yet this is a ship of hope and a ship of light, fulfilling for all who will recognize the wondrous plan of God that is behind the skies, a sun behind all suns, a radiance there, the answer to a little child's prayer. All purity and hope is there, and nothing vacant or a stare, but rather fixed concentration upon the great sea of consecration. I thank you, beloved ones, for your attention, for your hope, and for the mounting intent that is manifesting in those of you who are here dedicated to a higher and more noble ideal. But I assure you that the power of our word must sound to the ends of the earth, and the world must awake from the lethargic sleep of the ages, where each man in his appointed time set himself forth to be an individual, to climb the strands of individuality without hope, for he did not know when he was at the end of his rope, but only the gods could see and know and be the fullness of immortality. Thus you see, precious ones, there is in thought a mighty activity that God has wrought, a power to free, a power to be, a power to climb upon life's tree, and take therefrom the blossoms fair, the fruit and flower in the air, until you are right where God is. I am in you. Do you see, precious ones, how that through the ages God has wrought his miracles, and while so many take for granted that which they call their life, and all that their eye can see and ear can hear, they have waxed dull right here. And so, in the dullness of their manifestation, they submit that they have gone as far as they can in ministration. Why is this vacancy manifest in them? It is because they do not know the meaning and verity of substance. Take, eat. This is my body, which was broken for you, is an internal aphorism, and more than that, of the great ones who walk in white. It is a statement that was heard from the mouth of God, an oracle of perfection that spoke unto the pure in heart and said, I am the Lord thy God, and before thee I have set a light, and this light is upon the hill, and this light can be within your heart, and you can climb that hill because of the radiance that that light does impart. Then and then only will you be, as I am, wholly God-free. You see, blessed ones, there is a power from the sun that enables mankind to rise. Yet in this hemisphere so dark, this concept that mankind have of the earth as two spheres, one side night and one side light, mankind are unable to recognize that in the spatial regions where the sun does shine forever, there is no night there, but only the stillness of perfection that answers every prayer before 'tis asked, and speaks to all, and declares to all, I am compassion acting to set you free. Take me, assimilate me, be as I am, substance of divine substance. Mankind, in their great desire for nourishment, will consume all manners of food, and the animal kingdom, in part, consumes its fodder. Mankind often take no greater provision for themselves than the fodder which they feed unto their animals. I say to you then that that which is most important is the understanding of the Christ manifestation that partakes as the blessed Son of God of the blessed sacrament of being, attunement with God. There are none of us who are entitled masters of the great white brotherhood who in our mastery desire to supplant your own mighty God presence that will raise you on wings to your own divine reality and its splendor. You may give your attention to us as ascended masters and receive great benefits, even as you receive great benefits from one another when you act impelled by God's delight. But I want you to know today that you must understand that in the central idea of divine substance, the lowly one who comes riding upon a colt, this blessed one then comes as an emissary of divine truth, the Christ in all. Men must understand that in the assimilation of this body and of this blood, in the assimilation of this substance, the substance of eternal verity, the soul takes nourishment and is raised beyond all symbols' praise. For symbols in themselves are only well when men do understand the story that they tell. Life, life, life is God, 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 and men must see, else they bow beneath the rod, 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 that chastens all he loves and speaks to them. Oh, come and be a friend to men, but love me too, for I am the Lord thy God. You see, precious ones, it is necessary that men understand the mystery of being. For in the great myriad manifestations of God that have gone forth into creation and cosmos, there has unfolded a wondrous drama which mankind have perverted. And as Shakespeare would have said, it is his will that men be converted to understand. With all their getting, understanding must they have, else their life is lost in vastness, too great to comprehend. But when oneness is considered and perfection is desired, men will rise as though inspired to the realm beyond the skies. I say to you all, as the great goddess Meru stands beside me, we must illumine this age. We must call to the attention of the youth of the world the great mystery of divine opportunity that will not cast their life away as though it were but a chaff upon the wind, but will recognize the power to overcome and to win. Life is God, and life enfolds, but life deserted, empty holds the purpose. So you see, precious ones, we are not today without the power to pen and to speak the written and spoken word, so that men may see our banner o'er the world. It is the banner of the Lord. For unless God keep this city, it is kept in vain. And now I again would speak concerning those pious men in their own thought who have considered to divorce the world from God. They have thought that God was dead. They have thought they were rid of this great one. They have thought that they themselves were the Son, and yet they are empty of all light and frightened withal, because they know not where the light manifests call as opportunity to see beyond intellect and beyond ego the reality that is pure God essence. I say to you all then that this is only atypical of men, who, when they cannot find themselves the way, will cast before others, as the Master said, impediments in his name, more shame and desecration, more blame to their soul. But in his great mercy, the God of gods, the God of very gods, will say to them, thy emptiness is punishment enough, and therefore dust thou art, to dust thou shalt return. But to those who can, in good faith, hold his wonders face to face, there shall burn a fervor that shall inflame the heart of eternity in God's name, and raise mankind to see and be all the fullness of immortality. And so we stress again these words, that victory come from heaven's herds, for the flock of God are spread abroad upon the great land where'er thou gazest. And my sheep will hear my voice, and they will know that I am calling. I am calling. I am calling them home to the wonders of comfort, to the wonders of oneness, to the wonders of celestial navigation, where they shall understand where they go. Quo vadis, whither goest thou? How many among mankind today are able to say with eternal verity, I know whither I go, and I know from whence I came. The mystery is so simple that they escape it because of its childlike simplicity and manifestation. There is no doubt that light, the great equator of all, true light, divine light, not the light that mankind deem to be light, that is but darkness within them, but the light of life and the light of men that shines in the hearts and flashes across the hills to kindle heart after heart with his radiance. This is the wonderful substance of divine being, the essence of the eternal verity. God is, and because he is, I am. And so from him you came, to him you shall return. And herein lies a great key to mystery. Men must understand that you cannot take substance of eternal verity and make that substance error, for it will not adhere, it will not cohere, it will not hold together, it will splinter apart, it will shatter and go forth as a puny dart into the dark. But when mankind recognize that all that consumes dross is not loss, but is an impetus toward perfection and divine direction, they will be free from all this mortal substance which is but misqualified energy. They will comprehend then eternal verity as a star before them to lead the way to where the Christ is born in Bethlehem. They will understand that there in the place where the Lord God lay, the place right where you are, he will stay so long as heart is open and unafraid to accept without fear the Lord's great direction. Men may go forth then in the same perfection as the Christ. This is no desecration, but is the power of right that makes the might that overcomes and fulfills his words of old. Greater things shall ye do, because I go unto my Father. I ascend unto my God and unto your God. The great Christian unity, the Christ-like unity, the unity of the light of God that never fails, is so supreme and central to our brotherhood that it is a great pity that mankind will put their energies into psychic differentiation, whereby the power of mild dislike is intensified into hatred, and those who proclaim that they are the messengers of God, that those who proclaim that they are the ministers of God, that those who proclaim that they are channels for the higher powers, will so desecrate the hours with their futile efforts to smear one another without even a tear. Precious ones, how needful then it is that mankind remember that they are bone of his bone and substance of his substance. How needful that men will recognize that they came forth from God in this hour when men dare to proclaim that God is not. We proclaim that God is, and in the great joyous manifestation of that proclamation we cite the reasons for our being, why we are and why we have continued to exist. It is the mystery of resurrection and ascension. It is the mystery of right direction and perfection. It is the mystery of the chalice that holds not emptiness but glow, and in that glow ray accepts transformation today to be God-like where'er they can, and ask for more unfoldment of the plan, not less, not to act as ostrich head beneath the sand, but to lift up eyes that in divine mildness command, I am the Lord thy God, the meek, the free. I shall inherit the farthest reaches of eternity. For thus does life unfold the plan, and makes for all freedom's great band, that in its circle confining life gives direction, not mortal strife. Thus you see, blessed ones, in that which is dedication to freedom is freedom, and that which is dedication to mortal liberty is bondage. For out of Egypt have I called my son, and out of bondage has the Holy One called each one. You came forth from him. You cannot then deny him, and he cannot deny you if you do not deny him. I am the Lord thy God, that shall make thee free, that hath made thee free, that will consecrate thee as never before in this age to the fulfillment of the edict of the holy page that is the book of life. There all names are written that are not severed from him here below. They are in heaven while they walk and press their feet upon the sands below. These are consecrated ones. They understand all mysteries. Sons they are, radiant, pure. They will make their calling and election sure, fulfilling all the destiny of life that does not engender religious strife. These merge their oneness with the plan. These fulfill the victory of all man. Do you see then today, as I stand here upon the golden days, raising myself toward the sun in consciousness, how consecration to the eternal essence shows to mankind that the true sacred Eucharist is the immortal substance then imbibed, is the immortal substance that keeps all men alive, yet they know it not, and one day come to naught, because they would not understand the message what God hath wrought. O blessed men and women, children fair, see the wondrous angelic message in the air. See the great opportunity to be a God beneath the sun. You need not think that cause I stand here in this temple beautiful, you need not think because I stand here a great one from the sun, that I am lifted up except in praise and gratitude. My way and the way of all the great ones so called is to help mankind fulfill their destiny one and all. Thus our plan is fulfillment too, for we seek the freedom of the earth and you, each one to understand this glory, each one to understand the holy story. Blessed ones, so many words could be spoken, such great wisdom has man stored in book and law. Some of it is changed from time to time, as by revelation and scientific acclamation men stand in awe of nature, as she flashes forth her fires and inspires scientists bold to seek material key. But one day they will understand that if they would be free, they must see and be as God is immortal. Gods they are from out the sun, spending their time with bowed backs, bent beneath the load. Let us cut them free and make them bold to claim the starry heights that America's flag exposes to the light. Let them understand that in the mingled blood with purity so white, and field of honor blue and true, and star of white hue, there is a message too. A golden eagle from the pole unfurls to all the world the great story old, that men may by cosmic adventure grow more bold, and all nations may entwine their hands in love and march in armies of the Lord to see how crystallization is but misdirection, whereas the shattering of old bondage is the freedom song that lifts a hopeful anthem. That's not wrong but right, and might and light. O gracious ones, as we this day consider what we have brought to you, we hope that you, with lesser eyes perhaps, for development has not come alway, will now perceive the message we sought to convey. For heart to heart and bond to bond will create a song known as harmony, and harmony will make one all that God has spun of substance from himself. The divine distaff stands, and out goes great light rays, majestic from his hands, to spin o'er all the universal world a majestic plan of victory unfurled. And now ye, as witnesses, shall be ministers of the substance of eternity, economy divine, the plan to use his seed for every man, to heal and help where'er you can, but to hold that balance in the soul that knows that each one must make the goal. Individually and collectively your hands shall merge, but all must hold the torch, or be on the verge of falling off the precipice of individuality without the link of centrality. O blessed ones, there is no darkness in this plan, for that substance which composes the being of every man cannot be untrue to itself. And as Shakespeare said of old, this above all to thine own self be true, is also true of you and you. And all men must understand the substance that is theirs to command is God's, and as they merge, they shall be God's in verity. This fulfillment, celestial, beautiful, radiant, makes of the land a delight, and as the eyes span the land, they shall take delight from every tree and bush and every fragment of natural manifestation. They shall perceive beneath all that verdure of nature the wondrous elemental manifestation, the tiny gnomes, the dwarfs, the little creatures, small and great, who have acted as gardeners of the Lord, fulfilling that which they call their fate, and waiting for the hour to come when eternal destiny shall for them make one, angels, elementals, man and all, the great completion of cycles call. O men of God, men of grace, men of faith, the goddess Meru and I have determined to saturate the world with the divine golden substance of the sun. We are determined to saturate the world with that substance which will make all mankind one. We have determined to flash forth here from our height. The light makes men free. We will not let it go out and be snuffed by mortal greed, but by the power of God's speed we bid it rise, and hold this anthem from the skies. O God, thou camest of old to let thy fire rest upon the mountain, and each bush and each tiny twig is bursting with thyself, and the flowers are cups of thy substance to hold the colors rare, mixed and distilled by angelic hands above and in the air. We see the beauty that unfolds everywhere as starry lights twinkle through the holy nights, and say, I love you, one and all. Each planet is God's. I call to you, hear my voice, I am the Lord thy God. And each one passes the torch, and the torch is passed. And each take delight as a runner of the Lord, and carry this message fast, to heart, to hand, to head. I am the Lord thy God, instead of just a theological being. I am the Lord thy God that lives within thee. My eye all-seeing imparts to thee to see, to be freedom's flame. I am the Lord thy God. Sever bondage in my name. Out of Egypt have I called my son. Thou art the Lord thy God, the Holy One. Thyself I am, and thou in me are nestled in eternity. I thank you. Meru has spoken. Meru has spoken. Let God be glorified.
Thou wondrous mighty I am presence, in the name of God, in the name of Saint Germain, I invoke the fullness of thyself in action now. I invoke thy purity and love poured over America as never before. I say unto thee, O God, assuage the grief of this nation and provide this nation under thee with all that love and assistance which was ever given unto me in past times and to all who have gone before to create and to sustain this nation. Blessed and beloved ones, I am most grateful for your presence here, for your desire to serve the cause of freedom and the cause of Saint Germain. I am grateful for the intense devotion and zeal which is poured out in your hearts. And I would this night impart to you all that which divine grace and a benign posterity would give unto those waves of the future, the children of the heart of God, called out to be a separate people, an army of freedom, a people with a magnificent bent towards spiritual glory and excellence. As I contemplate this night the meaning of all that has been, I behold America as a great sea, and I see upon the waves of that sea multitudes and multitudes, teeming individuals, some buoyed upward to the crest of the waves to behold the light of the morning sun, and others to be cast down into the troughs and engulfed beneath the waves. But all those who have given and all those who have received are children of the one God, for he has lavishly bestowed upon them, as the pages of the ages have been turned, the infinite pathway of progression midst all the sea of mortal confusion and all the degradation and distress, all the dragon-like emanations that have sought to destroy the purity of the opportunity which God has destined for every man, woman, and child in this nation and world. I come to you then this night, not bereft of spiritual faculties, nor bereft of a memory of the past and all that God has constrained himself to do for and on behalf of those patriots and early Americans who sought to make a different world, a new world here, where men could worship according to the freedom of their own conscience and its dictates. I remind you now how that this wonderful privilege, this constitutional guarantee, has been in many cases taken from man by acts, as recorded in the book of facts, whereby inharmony and the power of mass confusion has sought to crush and oppress an army of small patriots who from time to time have raised their banner in this land and sought to restore the old landmarks and boundaries of spiritual progress. I also must reference for you this night how that degradation and confusion and a dim memory has invaded the Masonic lodges, where now there is but a remnant of the glory of the past. And therefore I seek tonight to infuse this land and all the lodges of perfection with the great meaning of the 33rd degree, as it was manifested in the early days of this nation. Dedication and excellence, understanding of the great power of God, and the vesting of one's life with that power, an understanding of brotherhood filled with the meaning of brotherhood, an understanding of faith filled with the meaning of faith, not so much in a sense of immediate rewards, but in a sense of bestowing upon one's posterity all the power and beauty of a future idyllic image filled with the vision and power of Almighty God, the power to challenge all that is darkness and say unto it, return to darkness, the power to accept all that is light and see it raise mankind toward the sun of progress, of understanding, of courage, and of virtue. I am enamored by the facts that now are engraven upon many hearts who have ascended, and also upon many hearts who are yet engaged and embroiled in the struggle. The mark of excellence, the mark of cosmic devotion that has made these men and women stand as Betsy Ross of old to defend their nation with all of their heart's desire, their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. Today, honor is little understood by men, for the pathway of virtue has been hidden from their eyes, and they are given in its place what one might well say is but vanity and delusion. They are more concerned, precious ones, with Mickey Mouse than they are with Jesus Christ and the great ascended host. They are more concerned with the titles which men will give to them than they are concerned with the virtue which entitles them to wear these titles. Precious ones, let this then be a word of warning to all who are able to hear my voice on this occasion of the birthday of George Washington, who was myself long ago. I would like to point out to you that I, Godfrey, wish to spread abroad to all men even this day the understanding of what it means to be God-free. To be God-free, in fact, means to be free from all desires that are not of the purity of the heart and the understanding of what purity means. I want you to know, blessed people, that unless people wear purity within, not just as a badge without, they can never expect to see the gates that men call the pearly gates swing open for them. For the so-called pearly gates are symbols of cosmic purity, a purity that is breathed in honor, not an affected thing, but an act of grace from within the heart, whereby men and women choose and prefer the honor of God to the honor of men. When dignity and grace, divine dignity and divine grace, are enthroned in human lives, it means a great change must be wrought in the former outpicturing and pattern of their lives. They must now replace all that is not virtue, all that is not righteousness, all that is not an act of faith, with the wonderful heavenly qualities and virtues. When these virtues are yearned for and assimilated by individuals until they burst into manifestation as a sun of cosmic splendor, it means that there is a touch of God placed upon all other witnesses to the lives of those individuals, and so there is preserved for a future posterity a measure of cosmic greatness that will cause the land to blossom as a rose, will make the desert places to flourish, and will flood the world with the dignity of cosmic honor and the grace of Christ's accomplishment. Mankind today, surfeited in the fulfilling of mortal desires, are often enamored by those among them who seem to excel in the acquirement of physical properties and a name and fame. Little do they realize how these paltry treasures do fade away, and in their evaporation and in the evanescent nature which they manifest in temporarum, there comes to mankind a feeling of false satisfaction, which does in many cases lure them to the pitfalls of destruction, until the soul itself is dried up as a dry tree, and is fit but for the burning. Now then we come to the consideration of the perennial green tree, the great green tree of cosmic perfection, the lone pine, who points fingers and spine straight upward toward the heavens, toward the sun, and toward cosmic accomplishment. As the great branches and boughs of the pine are close to the earth, they express a great deal of verdure and greenness and expansiveness, which becomes less and less until at the apex of the tree, the very fine point, whereas the finger of God points upward, does manifest hope to mankind, you see that there is less of the substance of the earth and more of the airiness of the surrounding area. Thus, precious ones, is it a fact and a fait accompli that all who come to the point where they are getting closer to their great divine source must find less of the earthly desires manifesting and a greater invisible activity taking place within them, which is most soul satisfying and rewarding, bringing them to the place where Almighty God is the supreme one in their lives, and their desire to merge with Him and to manifest His power and His victory and His accomplishment is a great goal, a glistening, shining goal, which is ever before the screen of their mind and is ever a melody within their heart. When America then expresses the greatness of its divine plan, it will bring to this great sea of humanity a change whereby the glory of God in the individual is inscribed as the greatest glory of all eternity, and the nation will be endorsed by individuals because they have such great love for divine principle and for divine grace that they desire to expand it from sea to shining sea, from snow-capped mountain heights unto the desert areas, and to cause the little children of devotion to flourish in this land, those whose hearts are so contrite that they almost seem tiny and finite, yet are held within the hands of God until they expand to engulf not only the world, but all the universe, and their heart and heartbeat are heard to the ends of the universe. When cosmic accomplishment is understood, small sacrifices for country, for home, for loved ones become things of glory, not of destitution. Men and women are willing to make themselves destitute then for the kingdom of God, knowing that there is never in the annals of the Almighty a time when He Himself will not look after His little ones and expand in them by the power of gratitude the grateful image that is grateful for all blessings received, and thus becomes more and more a magnet to receive those great blessings and to expand them everywhere. When men and women understand these laws, they will more readily offer themselves to great cosmic causes. But as I reflect and pause now in my speech unto you, how that I myself was often fraught with some doubt as to whether or not my little ragged band would survive the tremendous onslaughts of the early revolution, I recognize the need to go unto God in holy prayer and receive from Him the power to carry forth the mission which at times was bedimmed in my mind by the outer appearances. And I found consolation in holy prayer, and I came forth refreshed and with a light upon my countenance, which did inspire those men who rallied to the cause of freedom and supported the early birth of this nation. Now then, as peril does surround this nation in these latter times, when great manifestation is in the offing, we see a great need for renewal of the spirit of patriotism, remembering that this is not merely a response to a march. It is not merely a response to some musical sigma which goes forth and signifies to mankind a meaning of freedom translated into musical sonnets, but rather it is an activity of the heart in all of its great devotion, where the heart recognizes that that which has made this nation great is God, and therefore devotion to God is paramount in the minds of patriots in these latter days, as it was in the former days when this nation first was born and conceived. Gracious ones, as I speak to you now, I hope that the power of cosmic inspiration will flow across this nation in ever-widening waves, extending itself to all nations of the earth and inviting them by cosmic invitation to drink of this fount of freedom and liberty, bearing well in mind that men have given not only lives and fortunes and sacred honor for it, but have also given the allness of themselves. Can you do less? I thank you. Gracious ones, persevere, and you shall win. The challenge to every Chela, every would-be initiate, to all who would come under our disciplines, is given herewith. Persevere, and you shall win. The thought of merger with the divine ought to be a blessed goal wherein all can shine. Competition and the vain spirit of egocentricity have no place in our disciplines, for one must work unswervingly for purpose and to devote oneself to the fulfillment of that purpose. The power to see the promised land vouchsafed of old to Moses as he came out of Egyptian bondage is one which to modern day men and women must report
the challenges of the times and make them aware of the need to persevere. To persevere in all that is of the past, so that the untransmuted and banal aspects thereof may become vanquished in the name of victory. To persevere in the present hour, when the drabness of appearances and the seeming slowness of pace does not temper the zeal of the fire of the heart. To persevere in the future by a glorious hope that refuses to leave the screen of the mind. To persevere at all times and to win. There are those whose beings, like bones bleached upon the desert, strew the landscape because they did not persevere. They thirsted when no water was available, and they could not find within their souls the power to seek it, although it may have been nigh even at hand. There are those whose steadfastness wanes when victory is at the very door. There are those who do not understand the mercy of God. It has been said, His mercy endureth forever. And if we are to act the part of those who believe in the rewards of the Most High God, we must see His mercy as enduring for us, a flame of compassion that tempers circumstance to ability and power to manifest the law of victory for each one. If you could see at inner levels, as we do, the power of holy example as it was made known to the Karmic Board, where individuals surmounted most frightful circumstances to become victors, you would recognize that often by comparison measurement, your own struggles are but those of an ant seeking to reach a nearby anthill. Men and women of today recognize that the challenges of the past in a chameleon form are with you still. There is no difference in the challenges of this hour and of the past, save that you have a greater comfort for your physical being. The weaknesses brought upon mankind by soft living this past century have framed for him a weaker physical body in many cases, and a mind that could not have endured the struggles which your forebears did. Yet there are challenges before you which they did not know. We are aware of the changes in the times, yet the psyche of man and the soul remains the same. You are you, and it is your destiny to climb upward on the walls so perpendicular and slippery as to be impossible to a mountain climber, so that you can climb up out of the cup of mortal density and a lack of realization, until as you peer over the brim and behold the mighty cosmos whose throbbing heart is all around you, you will not be staggered by the vision which you see, but will say, I, as God, will win and persevere. You must rest in the arms of almighty bliss. You must be consumed by the fires of victory, and be willing to relinquish your hold upon that parcel of ground which you claim your own. You must see the vast sky of infinity, stretching boundless in all directions. You must see there a perfection of great care and loving and watchful service, whereby, although it does not always seem to be to your mortal mind and to appearances, there is a compassionate and watchful eye over you every hour of the day and the night, and the wings of the morning are spread in their eternal brightness upon the mountains, and neath those wings there is a glow ray that casts its glow upon the terrain beneath. And you, as you behold those wings, the raising power of the great sun, may in some cases remember the lofty and ancient Egyptian call, "Holy art thou, O Aton, thou God of oneness." In the concept of monotheism, the greatness of the Most High was spread abroad throughout the lands, and the gods and demigods of the past fell as ashes. We are reminded of the great test of Baal, when the call went forth unto God on high, and the fire came down and licked the altars at the request of the great prophet. Now we say unto you all, the time has come when the fires of heaven must be kindled anew in this age, that the age be not dust and ashes, that the drabness of the challenges of science and knowledge depart from men in a pursuit of the understanding of the great purposes of being which frame the worlds. The world was not framed for better motors, for more efficient machines, for more deliberate diplomatic manipulations. The world was not framed for individuals to exert the power of mastery over other lives by subtle controls and hypnotism, by the hypnotic influences of the advertising marts of the world and those who study how they may control mankind. The world was framed for a destiny that transcends not only this world, this earth, this great terrestrial globe turning neath the sun, but it was framed for an immortal ascendancy of all phases of life into the great cosmic purposes that shall dawn one by one as manifest markers upon the miles of progress for all. The very solar system in which you live was intended to raise itself into new dimensions of cosmic progress. And light upon the mountains was intended to be transmuted and translated as the fire of the individual's heart, whereby the great magnet of the ascension in the Christ consciousness as a halo of great white firelight around that one would raise the physical form, the mind, the soul, the breath, the allness of individuality into the arms of the central sun, not to be alone and to abide there, but to abide with others, with brothers, with sisters, with the Holy One within. Pause to reflect. Pause to direct. Pause to control. Pause for the goal. In the interval between thy acts, pause to consider their effect upon others. Pause not to trample upon hallowed life beneath thy feet. The power of ahimsa may be impossible for many, and harmlessness may not be the forte of all. And perhaps 'tis true that it does not matter for some of these million few insects scattered beneath the feet as to whether or not they remain in form for a time or then are born again in other clime, for they belong to a different evolution. But nevertheless, the concept translated into higher dimensions would say, tread thou not upon thy brother's feet, nor cause him to stumble or fall, but show compassion to all wherever it lies within thy power. And thus thou shalt enhance the beauty of each hour by godliness poured out in rains controlled to manifest the power, the sacred goal, and be ascended now in consciousness to act as God, confessing all to him and committing all to him, thus to persevere and win. Gracious ones, as I pause to consider myself the aspects of mortal discouragements, I am reminded again and again how that each ascended one has overcome. I am reminded how that each ascended one has longed to find release from that which binds, to know, to do, to dare, to hold communion's sacred prayer with God alone in tower strong, shut out all wrong, and be alone with him. Thus will all mortal clamor die, confusion fly, and peace be born that day, that morn. Rejoice, mourn no more, for life at hand defies all that which is unreal. Life demands you feel the beat of sovereign heart, the feet of Christ impart, the power to cleave the mountains apart, and be that which you see. I am the Lord thy God. His word is law, his rod is power. His word by grace will sin devour. His power reaches out to win beyond doubt the ascension flame, flashing forth now in act, in vow, in compassion, as you plow a furrow straight, parting the land for fruit and flower and hope beyond debate. You must hold that vision fair, that holy vision flashing through the air, that shows that heaven's here, not far away. O grateful ones, you run this day to win, to persevere. I thank you, and I commend you into the watchful care of the Holy One, who shall neither slumber nor sleep, but shall keep you 'neath his feet, that raised you may be, up through the air in spiral fair, to hold his hands in reality's prayer, a goal that's won, a spark to sun, applied as light that ends all night, and brightness shines forevermore. I thank you.
Golden days in the sunshine of a happy youth, golden days full of innocence and full of truth. our hearts, we remember them all else above. Golden days, days of youth and love. How we laughed with a gaiety that had no sting. Looking back through memory's haze, we will know life has nothing sweeter than its springtime. Golden days when we're young, golden days.
This is Meru. I am come to discuss the power that flows. The universe is not static. The universe is vital. The outbreathing of the pranic energy from the center of the Godhead to the periphery of life is a dancing, merry movement of illumination and faith in order and progression that overcomes all that is not perfection by the speed and joy of God going forth to accomplish the Creator's purpose. Life begets life. Light begets light. Truth begets faith in truth. Joy expands joy. Comfort expands compassion. Purity invokes holiness. All things effectively controlled by God exhibit all aspects of perfection, save the aspect of recognition, which must be born in the created thing, until by faith man moves the mountains of adversity and sees face to face that the karmic load is replaced by divine grace in perfect balance. Surrender then, sweet surrender, born of serenity of soul, born of the comfort of wholeness, born of a faith that begets greater faith, brings to all devotees who will drink of the fount of holy illumination the understanding that masters not only the atomic complex, but the control of the diversity of universal love. Universal love pours forth its radiance. Universal love dances in the energetic releases from the heart of God, the cosmic rays, the electrical energy, the flash of Fohat, the flash of lightning, the telegraphic message of purity and love between hearts and between God and hearts. God is King of hearts. Love in man is the Queen of hearts. And when men understand that they ought not to play the knave, but to understand the dignity of cosmic grace, they will forsake the idolatrous mind that speculates through the power of human intellect upon the great cosmic laws and names
the varied facets of those laws as through a tiny window. Glimpsing only segments, they attempt to display their ignorance and call it knowledge. Now then, we would give out unto you a realization of truth, a realization of the universal structure. Out from the heart of God pass these great economic, cosmic releases. Economic in the sense that they are intended to represent the divine economy. They are intended to represent cosmic purpose. They are intended to represent flow, flow of love, flow of wisdom, flow of power. Vested themselves with the power to perfect, they go forth, and they are joyous. When mankind understand the meaning of flow, they will understand how to stand upon the spot and release all of the substance of themselves into flow. And thus, as the dancing electrons, as the great mesons of life go forth, as the great megatons of cosmic energy mount to incredible weights, and a release of power beyond the significance of mortal ken, men will understand that in flow there is the accomplished release of self into universal cycles. By this I mean that the sense of consciousness itself must be coupled to flow, and without relinquishing the hold upon the appointed hitching post in space, the ego is able to go the rounds of universal love and to perceive at levels of internal comprehension the vastness of realms as yet unknown to mankind. By flow, man is released into the hands of God and blends with the eternal cycles. There is no loss in flow. For wherever the vacuum of energy released is a fait accompli. The divine economy provides an inrush of flow from negative to positive. Men must understand then that the laws of the universe will provide for all who are content to believe in the cosmic thrust for the divine purpose. Grace, limitless grace, and unity with all life. Preserved within the bottle, the human imp becomes imp perfection. Released from the bottle, the human imperfection becomes transmutation, and then flow, and flow goeth forth to perfection. For God has provided that no part of life shall abide alone. The great law of cosmos, exhibited by the trinity of effort in the beginning of creation of this planet, is significant, and mankind must understand it. It is not good for manifestation to be all one. And thus, the fragmentation of the law occurred, and the splintering of energy patterns brought about division within the universe in order to provide oneness. For that which is all one, without recognition of its fragmentation possibilities, is unable to grasp the allness of the one. But when fragmentation occurs, it is the breaking of the sacred Eucharist. And according to the tenets of the Melchizedean priesthood, it is the release in substance of immortality. Thus, God without father and without mother, without beginning of days and without ending of days, is the supreme one. But all mankind drink then of his life universal, the cup of consciousness which provides the opportunities which men seek in the delusory pleasures of the senses, but which are provided by the divine senses in their great exhilarating manifestations of infinite capacity as compared to finite capacity, which always ends in an empty cup. Whereas as we provide flow, we provide the fullness of cycles return, and thus there is no end to flow. As I have discussed this with you tonight, I recognize the limitations imposed upon yourselves both by mortal concept and by those who themselves are with you in mortal form. It has no power. We cannot give dimension unto man except man be willing to receive it. Thus I say, let all who will drink freely of the water of flow. I am the Lord thy God. The cup of consciousness, the cup of the great consciousness of the One, is that of which the many drink, and all partake of this one life. But through the power of flow, all are able to pass the landmarks of one another and return to consciousness, not with empty void, but with capacitance increased. And thus does man partake of the elixir of the gods, the elixir of flow, the elixir that leads mankind to a realization of the greenness of the earth, of the verdure of beauty, the verdant beauty of universal health and wealth and strength, the shining splendor represented by the purity of jade. And so the various stones in the New Jerusalem are recognized as symbols of flow, mother of pearl, substance, referenced in one of your decrees as the milk and honey of creation, are themselves conveyors and retainers of virtue electronically impressed upon substance. Substance, then, of the divine origin, substance charged with immortality. And as you record upon disc, upon wire, and upon tape, so God has recorded upon stone and upon precious stones. So God has recorded upon hearts, upon precious hearts. So God has recorded upon himself as flow. And it is flow that enables mankind to assimilate universal love, which could not be concentrated in one part of space, but must be available in all parts of space. Thus by flow the circuits of the mind are increased. Thus by flow the circuits of being are expanded. Thus by flow men visit strange places and are enamored of the possibilities of the flowers of space, as your beloved Moria has called them. Gathering then from the garden of God the majesty of infinite capacity, you are able to rejoice in a larger territory and expand the domain of being out of the ordinary into the realm of God progression. I am the Lord thy God, who would bring thee out of the bondage of Egypt, the crystallization concept of men who are content to dwell in a little grain of sand upon the seashore. The ocean awaits, and the ocean is entered by fearless flow. Those who are willing to go out into the deeps of God and imbibe of the elixir of the deep. Thus, those men and women who state that assimilation of intellect is by the power of assimilated words and concepts are found to come to naught, for by the power of flow, the electronic energy of God conveys instantaneously to the mind and heart the capacities of the angels and the archangels. And you will find that those who are very ordinary are transformed into shining orbits of light and shining spheres within those orbits. Through flow, the orbit is increased. Through flow, the dimensions of the sphere are increased. And through flow, God enters into substance and into strata and into manifestation. Etheric levels are inhabited by God through flow. Emotional levels, energy in motion, are entered into by God through flow. Physical substance with the fire of the sun is entered into by God through flow. Being is flow. Stagnation is death, and men must drink of the nectar of flow, that they themselves may become more than man. Thus, the great book I close. Whether I shall open it again shall depend upon the use by this group of the instruction which I have given. I may begin a series, I may end a series. Thank you, and the blessing of the goddess Meru rest upon you.